Today we're going to make almond sablé, which is just a sweet tart dough that has a little bit of almond flour in it, which adds a really nice flavor and texture. These tart shells are a little bit sweet and buttery and really tender and perfect for any sort of tartlet that you're making. So this crust is super easy. Okay, so first steps in this particular crust recipe is to cream the butter and the sugar. So I've got my butter temping over here on like a sheet tray just to kind of make sure it temps quickly. So I've got my butter, I'm gonna add my 10x, my confectioner sugar. So it's not like a real true creaming method in the sense that it's going to like create air. It's just so that the butter and the sugar are kind of incorporated. Grab my mixer and then start it on low because this is a lot of sugar and it'll just like poof. So we have a nice smooth paste in here. It's not going to get like light and fluffy in the way that you would normally in a creaming method, just because it's 10x. So at this point, we're kind of going to do something a little bit different than a traditional creaming method. We are going to actually cut our dry ingredients into our butter and sugar mixture. So I've got flour here. This is just AP flour. You can use pastry flour if you have it. I don't. This is almond flour, so there's a bit of almond flour in this crust. I think it gives a really nice texture and flavor. A little bit of baking powder. It's not necessarily for leavening, it just makes the crust a little bit lighter. And my favorite, salt. We are going to then turn this on low and let it mix until it's completely incorporated. So while that happens, we're going to prepare our eggs. So all we're going to do is we're going to beat our eggs and we're going to add that in, and that will be kind of the wet ingredients here. So go ahead and just whisk it. I mean, there's nothing else to do. You're waiting. It's cool. So we're going to add all of our eggs. Boop. And then start that on low and just let that mix in, almost as if it were a wet ingredient. Now you do want to make sure that this mixes in completely because otherwise you'll get chunks of like almond flour and regular flour in your final dough when you roll it out, and that's sad. So just scrape it down because sometimes the wet part gets stuck on the paddle. All right, and that's it. So now we need to chill our dough until it's kind of firm and set. It'll be probably at least an hour, it depends on the coldness of your refrigerator. So I'm going to turn this whole thing out and then I'll divide it. If I see any unincorporated bits of flour, then I'm going to mush them in there, make sure that they get incorporated. So divide it in half, and then I like to get it to chill faster. I just kind of smoosh it out and before I wrap it, and that way it'll actually cool down faster and you don't have to wait as long like if you just wrapped an entire ball of dough. Alright, so we have made our dough and I'm going to go ahead and chill it for at least an hour and then we'll roll it out. So our dough is chilled and we are ready to roll it out to line our little tartlet shells. So I've got a little bit of bench flour here. Do more than you would necessarily for just like a light dusting, but you know, not too much. We'll add more in a minute. Plop that down. Boop. All right, so my room is super warm, so I am actually going to just roll it on parchment, which you can do anyways, regardless of the fact that you live in a sauna. Just roll it out gently on your parchment, using a bit of bench flour on the rolling pin as necessary. And we're gonna roll it out to like maybe 3 centimeters thick. So we're gonna chill this completely, not only just because you wanna make sure that you keep it cold and that way you get that nice like delicate crust after you bake it, but also because this is like not workable because it's so warm. So I'm going to put this and myself in the refrigerator for like maybe 30 minutes, and then we'll check back. Okay. Okay, so our dough is chilled and we are ready to start cutting and then lining our little tart pans. I'm gonna use these little tart molds. You can use ones with removable bottoms, great. If yours are not non-stick like this, I would definitely spray them with a little bit of non-stick cooking spray. And then I like to use a cutter just to make, why not? You can also just use a knife or something like that. And then place it inside your shell. So I'm gonna go ahead and cut all of them. Boop. Lining. Cutting it into the circle makes it super easy, and we're just going to go around and kind of gently place it in the crease and then fold it up. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and get these in the fridge again. They don't have to chill very long because they're very small and thin, so they should be ready in probably 15 minutes. So I'm going to par bake these shells, which just means that I'm going to pre-bake the crust so that I can put a non-baked filling inside. So I'm going to start, while my tartlet shells are chilling, I am going to prep my lining. I think the easiest way to do this is just to cut this sheet into 6 pieces. A little trick for you. So go ahead and sloosh it all up, just smash it all up, just get it all nice into a tiny little ball. We're gonna do all that to all of them, like we're throwing it away, right? But don't throw it away. Now you've got all these little balls of paper, and you're like, what the hell am I supposed to do with this? Come on now, have a little faith. Now you're gonna unfold them all. And look what you've got here. Oh wow, it's like a pliable bit of parchment that's going to mold perfectly into your tart shell. Got you! Okay, so we are ready to line our shells and bake them, but first we want to make sure that we cut these so that they're nice and even and beautiful. I like to just kind of cut away from me like this, and then we're going to dock it. So go ahead and just like poke the bottom, and this will make sure that it rises evenly and it doesn't like get like a big puff. We're ready to line our tart shells. So just go ahead and take our pre-crumbled pieces of paper. You see how they just kind of fit inside there without any hassle or ordeal. Now the purpose of the lining in the beans is just to hold down the tart shell to kind of mimic like you had a filling inside. So I'm going to pour my beans inside. You can save these beans. You're going to cool them down and then save them for your next baking extravaganza. So we are ready to bake these. I'm going to chill mine quickly, but you don't necessarily have to if yours are still very cold and firm. But we're going to bake them at 350 degrees for about 8 minutes, and then we'll start checking the bottom crust and making sure, and all I mean by that is we're just going to take a peek and we're going to look and see that the bottom crust has started to set. Okay, so this is super duper fast. I'm going to take out, it's been about 11 minutes, and I'm going to take out my blind baking shells. You can see that they've started to brown around the edges. But they have not cooked on the bottom at all yet, so I'm just going to pop them back in the oven, and I'll check them about like 8 minutes, and I'll just kind of keep checking in 8-minute intervals until they're nice and golden brown. So our tartlets are out of the oven, and you can see that they have like a beautiful golden brown crust on the bottom. It's all even and flat, so just cool these down and then they're ready for whatever you're making. You can fill them with pastry cream and top them with fresh fruit like I did in the puff pastry fruit tart. You can fill them with chocolate for a chocolate tart. Really, I mean, the world is your oyster here.